Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Tuesday, April the 30th, 2024. We had a couple of readings this past Sunday, one from Acts 18, the other from 1 Corinthians, all about division and specifically the divisions within the church in Corinth. But I want to kind of get into that and get into some background with that tomorrow. But just want to talk in general about divisions and to kind of kick it off, that first verse of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10, where Paul writes, "Now I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you be in agreement, that there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and the same purpose." If you've been a part of a church or involved with the church or grew up in the church, you know that disagreements and problems and divisions still plague the church and congregations to this day for a whole host of reasons. Came across a funny thing about hymns for a church feud. Church feuds are not uncommon, it says, especially among different groups in a congregation. But when the pastor and choir director get into it, watch out. One week, the pastor preached on commitment and how you should dedicate yourselves to service. The director then led the choir in singing, "I Shall Not Be Moved." So the next Sunday, the preacher preached on giving and how we should gladly give to the work of the Lord. And the choir director then led the song, "Jesus Paid It All." The next Sunday, the preacher preached on gossiping, how we should watch our tongues. And the hymn after his sermon was, "I love to tell the story." Then the preacher became so disgusted over the situation, the next Sunday he told the congregation he was considering resigning. And the choir then sang, "Oh, why not tonight?" And finally, when the preacher did resign the following week, he told the church that Jesus had led him to this church, and now Jesus was leading him to serve another church. And the choir then sang, "What a friend we have in Jesus." Kind of lighthearted look at church arguments and feuds, but they're not always lighthearted. And yet, the stories are amazing. The stories told of two congregations that were located only a few blocks from each other in a small community. So they thought it might be better if they would merge and become one united, larger, more effective body than two struggling churches. I've been in situations where I only wish that could have happened for those very reasons. Great idea. But in this particular situation, they were not able to pull it off. The problem, they could not agree on how they would recite the Lord's Prayer. One group preferred, "Forgive us our trespasses," while the other group demanded, "Forgive us our debts." And so, as the local newspaper reported, one church went back to its trespasses while the other returned to its debts. Some more interesting stories. There was a church that once split over an argument at a potluck supper when a woman brought a congealed salad that she made with Cool Whip instead of real whipping cream. Churches have split over whether the pianist should sit to the right or to the left side of the podium. It didn't lead to a whole split, but I did have a little bit of years ago in one of the congregations I served. The organ and the choir were in the back of the church, and in fact the organist had her back to the rest of the congregation. In other words, she was not only in the back of the congregation, but she was facing back because the choir was yet between her and the end of the nave. And so we thought about it, and it seemed like a good idea. We made the room and we moved the organ and the choir to the front. I think the vast majority of people thought it was a great idea, but one person was very upset with me, a very leading member of the congregation, who claimed that they did not want to look at the face of the organist. So churches splitting over where the pianist should be placed kind of rings a bell for me. Churches have split over whether the Lord's Supper should be served from the front to the back or the back to the front. Uh, they've split over trying to decide whether a kitchen should be part of the church building or not. One church split over who was the real pastor. They had two of them, apparently, and two groups thought they each had their own guy, and both of them got up to lead a service one Sunday. Both led the singing. Both groups tried to out-sing each other. Then the pastor started preaching, trying to out-preach each other. Finally, everybody just broke out into fisticuffs. The police had to come in and break it up. In Mississippi, in a small town northeast of Vicksburg, there were two churches that shared a common parking lot. They were actually of the same denomination. How it came about is there was some controversy, some division, some split. So they had split into two entirely different congregations, still sharing the same parking lot. This was many years later, and probably no one even remembered why it was that they split. The author Sheldon Van Auken once made the statement, "The greatest argument for Christianity is Christians. There's nothing more compelling than those who live the life of Christ." But guess what he said is the greatest argument against Christianity? Christians, who he says don't live the life of Christ. I think Christians who argue and sow dissension and division and so forth, it is not a good look. It is not a good witness to what we are called to do. But we have to keep in mind, and I think John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, had a great way of thinking about it. And it'll kind of lead us into talking about the divisions in the Corinthian church. The story is told that John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, changed his view about church division after a dream in which he was first transported to the gates of hell. And he asked, "Are there any Presbyterians here?" "Yes," was the reply. "Any Roman Catholics?" "Yes." "Any Congregationalists?" "Yes." He hesitated. "Not any Methodists, I hope." But to his dismay, the answer was yes. Suddenly in his dream, he stood at the gates of heaven. Once again, he asked, "Are there any Presbyterians here?" "No," was the reply. "Any Roman Catholics?" "No." "Any Congregationalists?" "No." And then he asked the question which most interested him, "Are there any Methodists here?" And he was shocked to receive the same stern reply, "No." Well, then he asked in surprise, "Please tell me who is in heaven?" "Christians," was the jubilant answer. And from that dream, Wesley determined that unity was essential to the church's success in its mission. Jesus prayed for unity, and that should always be at the forefront of our minds as well. So, unfortunately, there are divisions. There are divisions within congregations. There's division over leadership in congregations. We're going to be talking about that for the next couple of days. Until then, hope you have a great day today, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye.